My name is Reverend Emil Clad. I'm the senior pastor of Christ Our Place. I'm glad to come your way again with the second segment of the discussion on family emotional needs. This time, we want to look at the emotional needs of a wife. And according to the scripture in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, which I want to read in a moment, the Bible tells a husband how to handle the wife emotionally. And so let's go right into the scripture. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, the scripture says, "Husbands likewise, dwell with them with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered." From this passage, we deduce that the weaker vessel here refers to the woman's emotions. And because it has to do with her emotions, the scripture tells a husband how to handle her by honoring her as the weaker vessel. Now, what is the single most important emotional need of a wife? I want to capture it in one word, and that word is appreciation. Now, what do I mean by appreciation? Just showing both in words and in actions that you are glad or you are happy for something that someone has done. And if a husband will show appreciation to their wife, he would have to reflect his sentiments, his joy, and his gladness to the wife in words and in deeds. For example, buying gifts and giving to the woman just to tell her how much he is appreciative of her efforts. It is enough to appreciate a wife for marrying you. And to go beyond that, whatever she does, maybe in the area of sex or cooking or tidying up the home, doing chores, taking care of children, all these things warrant that a wife will be shown appreciation. Now there is a passage in Ephesians chapter 5, and I want us to make reference to that passage. In fact, from verse 25 to verse 31, the scripture tells husbands how to love their wives. But I want to take it from verses 29 and 30. It says, "For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church." So this passage mentions two things that a husband does for his wife. Number one, to nourish her. That is to empower her or give her the gifts and the support she needs to be in a position to help you, because she's the helpmate. And then number two, to cherish. Another word is to admire her. You have to find something about your wife that you admire and keep talking about. Maybe her looks, maybe her skills, maybe her commitment. Whatever it is that a wife needs to know about herself, which will help her to build her self-esteem, a husband has the responsibility to keep pouring those things in words and in deeds. Let me also read another passage in Ephesians chapter 5 from verse 27. It says that, let me take it from verse 26, "that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word." What does this mean? The kind of words that a husband will speak to the wife, those are the words that will wash her. It's like when you're speaking to your wife, you are bathing her. And if they are good words, you are cleaning her. If they are bad words, you are polluting her, you are defiling her. And most of the time, when there is emotional abuse, we overlook them because it's not physical or something that can be taken legally. But a husband who has Christ as his head would have to learn how to appreciate his wife and to express this appreciation in all measure. Now, how do you get to appreciating your wife? The first thing a husband needs to do is to be attentive to the wife, to give attention to the woman. Most of the time, women complain, "My husband doesn't get time for me, he's not spending time with me. But what they mean is actually not sex. It is intimacy. But before we get to intimacy, you must first get to attention. You must give attention to the woman. Now, if you have divided attention, it simply means that many things are important to you at the same time. But if you are attentive to your wife, it means that at that moment in time, she is what matters. She is important. And then by giving attention, you move to the level of sensitivity, to be sensitive to her needs. And at this point, I want to caution husbands. Women speak with their moods. They actually don't express themselves in words. When women are happy, they may talk, or when they are angry, they may talk. But most of the time, they communicate their needs by their moods. And so, as a husband, you need to be sensitive. Sometimes she wants sex, she may not tell you. She'll show it in all her actions. You have to be sensitive to it. Sometimes she's tired. You have to be sensitive. You should know. And if you don't know, a woman will ask you, are you not missing something? Are you not forgetting something? Sometimes they may go to the extent of saying, I have an issue to discuss with you. Once you are insensitive to the woman's needs, you will be hurting her emotionally, and it can really, really affect the relationship. Then from sensitivity, you go to the place of appreciation. So when you are sensitive, then you take notice of the things that she does, or the changes in her, and then you mention them. When your wife fixes her hair, you need to notice it, and you need to comment on it. Tell her how beautiful she is, tell her how nice she is, and then when it is, when there comes an occasion where there is something you want to correct, or you want to point out, your wife will not take it as a criticism, or she will not take it in a negative sense. So learn how to show appreciation. Then from the place of appreciation, you move to the place of intimacy. And that will be the last scripture I read in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 25. Genesis 2:25. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. They were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. What does this scripture mean? It simply means being at the place of vulnerability, to be open, to expose yourself, and not being afraid that whatever is found about you will be used against you. You see, when you are at a place where there is nothing to hold back, then your relationship is very healthy. And your wife should not be afraid to hold back anything from you. If you are appreciative of her, she will let you know anything and everything. And she'll go all out to give you all the support you need. Intimacy for a wife is not necessarily sex, even though sex is included in intimacy, but it is just the openness, the vulnerability. You are doing a project somewhere, your wife should know. You have some savings somewhere, she should be aware. You are having an interaction with somebody, you are meeting somebody, you're going for an appointment or for a meeting. She has to know. Once she's exposed to every secret about you, she will not have to worry about what goes on. That is how you build a woman's self-esteem, and that is how you strengthen the person God has appointed to help you to accomplish your vision. God bless you.
It's calling me to a higher place of praise, to stand upon the mountain